Hey everyone, welcome here to Podband Pipecast.
The premier pipe band podcast.
This is our first episode.
Yeah, first episode, yay! Yay. So happy St. Andrew's Day.
Yes.
I don't know when you're watching this or listening to this.
Better be on St. Andrew's Day.
Yeah. This is our first episode that we're going to air on St. Andrew's Day. We're really excited to have everyone
Thank you for joining
on
us.
our podcast. Yeah. So we're starting this podcast to be kind of informational and educational. There's some other great podcasts out there that you guys should definitely check out that are kind of more newsy or more, other information, but we're kind of more about
Trying to be educational, trying to be informative. You try to look up information about pipe bands, and it's a lot of passed down information, so there's not a lot of info on Google. So we're here to fix that and bridge that gap.
Yeah, so we're going to be bringing in a lot of really exciting guests for you guys to listen to. We'll ask them about things that they know about that they want to pass down their information to us, because like Adela said, a lot of the information on pipe bands is just hearsay or it's passed down information. So we're really, really excited about our lineup that we have coming up. Today we're going to talk about specifically what this podcast is about and what it is not. So like I said, it's about sort of just information, historical information. We're going to mix in with the educational information and the music theory. And what it's not is we're not going to talk about really any competition results, any news, anything like that. We also have a guide sheet here that we call the code that we're going to refer to whenever we have our guests on the show to make sure that we're not giving you any information that is anything like any brands, that we're not going to recommend any brands or any suppliers or anything like that unless someone is affiliated with them. And in that case, we're going to definitely let you know so that you know where your information is coming from. You want to talk about the code?
Yeah. So we are going to be a professional, classy podcast. We're going to bring you all the details without all the trash talk or name calling or just anything out of the ordinary or disrespectful.
Yeah, we specifically have guidelines here that say don't critique others, so we're not going to be offering critiques of other bands or other people. You can go somewhere else for that if that's what you're into. We are going to give credit where credit is due, so if there's someone who we think is doing a great job and we want to point that out, then sure, we'll let you guys know about that. We're also going to be letting our people know that come on our guests that come on our podcast that they we recommend they don't recommend any brands or mention any brand names, just because we want to keep everything kind of equal. There might be some really great suppliers out there that are local to your area that we just don't know about. So if you ask us, where do you get your pipe band supplies? Well, we can tell you that, but you also might want to explore what's in your area and what is, a really great supplier for you.
And just because we had a good experience with somebody doesn't mean that those experiences will carry over into the future. So just for your sake, it's better to shop around on your end.
Yeah. So, getting into what we're going to talk about, we're going to have on our next episode, we're going to have our pipe sergeant and treasurer, Diane Nunez, who's also my mom, on the episode. And she's going to talk a lot about our logistics for going to Highland Games and other contests and what to do if you're thinking about taking your pipe band to a contest, what you need to prepare for. She has well over 30, almost 40 years of experience doing this. And we really want this podcast to be informational, educational for people who are maybe just entering the pipe band world or need some help. Maybe you don't have a lot of instruction in your area. So that's what we're going to get into. First, though, on our introductory episode,
we should introduce ourselves.
I'm Kaylee.
I'm Adela.
We're from the Mesa Caledonian Pipe Band. And, do you want to talk about yourself first?
Yeah, sure. I've been playing in the Mesa Caledonian Pipe Band for probably 7 years. When I was in high school, my friend came up to me and was like, "You want to come to this pipe band thing that I found on Google?" And I was like, "Sure, why not?" And the rest is history.
That was a big leap of faith for you to be like, "Oh, what's a pipe band?"
Honestly, I just watched like one video. I thought a tenor drum was a bass drum, and I was like, "Sure, I know everything now."
I mean, pretty much, right?
Yeah.
That's how a lot of people get started. They're just like, "That looks cool. I want to do that." Awesome. Well, yeah, I'm Kaylee. Like I said, I kind of grew up in the Mesa Caledonian Pipe Band. Like I said, my mom is the pipe sergeant, and I never wanted to do what she does because of whatever reason. I think you kind of grow up and you're like, I don't want to be like my parents. So I actually had, how I got into it was I had been dragged to every Highland Games that the band has ever gone to. And it was never really my thing. I was just kind of there. And then when the band went to Scotland in 2001 and then again in 2003. And of course I was dragged to that as well, but it was pretty awesome because it was a foreign country. So that was fun. And so in 2003, the band was one of the first North American pipe bands to do a concert at Stirling Castle. And I was there and I was 10 years old, believe it or not. And I all of a sudden, like, I was just standing there. I distinctly remember, and I pointed this out to my husband, Sean, when we were there this summer. And I said, look, I was standing on that wall right there watching the band do their concert at Stirling Castle. And all of a sudden I noticed the tenor drummers. And I was like, that's what I have to do. So then the band had been starting a grade 4 band, and my uncle asked me, who's actually the drum sergeant, asked me, hey, do you want to be a tenor drummer? And I was like, I've been thinking about doing that since like I saw the concert this summer. And then the rest is history. You know, I played in the grade 4 band for a while and then got moved up to the grade 3 band and been there ever since. It's been a lot of fun. It's been fun growing up in the band and seeing, just meeting so many cool people as part of my life growing up. So I owe a lot of who I am as a person to the pipe band. I appreciate that. So yeah. We don't plan on doing a lot of talking about ourselves in the videos. We're mostly going to be interviewing people and like I said, doing historical information about what this crazy thing is that we do. So yeah, that's your taste of who we are and what our podcast is about. And yeah, I had mentioned that it's St. Andrew's Day. So once again, I don't know when you're watching this, but we're going to talk about St. Andrew's Day to give you a taste of what these podcast episodes are going to be like. So happy St. Andrew's Day.
Hey.
Yay.
We are holding up a flag.
We're holding up a flag in case you can't see.
In case you're listening.
That's another thing we want to talk about, the videos,
yes,
right?
Yes.
Yeah, you want to talk about the videos?
Sure. So this first video, we are going to go ahead and upload it for everyone to see our beautiful faces. And then from there, our videos are going to become Patreon exclusives. So you can check them out on our Patreon at Podband Pipecast. And subscribe to keep seeing our faces, and as well as these videos of us talking. You'll get exclusive exercises and helpful hints and Q&A sessions with us. You can explore your tenor drumming, as well as we'll get other people to help us upload some more exclusive content in case you're not a tenor drummer.
Yeah. So we're really excited. I know people who are watching this on the video are like, wow, that's a Scottish flag. Wow.
Wow.
So St. Andrew's Day. It's a November 30th, in case you're watching this at a different time. St. Andrew's Day is a day when it's kind of like, you know how St. Patrick's Day is for Irish people? St. Andrew's Day is for Scottish people. St. Andrew is the patron saint of Scotland, and there's varying accounts of why he became the patron saint of Scotland. One of the accounts that I've heard is most widely regarded is that his bones actually were moved from where he was originally died to Scotland. And so actually they were buried in the what is now the St. Andrew's Cathedral in St. Andrews, which is a town in Scotland. So that's part of the reason why he's the patron saint of Scotland.
Wait, so they had to move his bones for him to be a patron saint?
They, for some reason, moved his bones. There was another saint who was a monk who was at the place where his bones were, and he got a vision, supposedly according to legend, that he needs to move the bones. He needs to take the bones in a boat and sail until he crashes.
Oh.
And he crashed in Scotland. And so then, okay, here's where we're going to bury the bones.
Okay.
So
that's
yeah.
interesting.
So yeah, and the reason that the Scottish flag, which I'll keep holding up for our people who are watching this on the video, is the Scottish flag is like it's called a saltire. It's an X. It's a white X on a blue background, and that's because it's St. Andrew's Cross. And the legend goes that St. Andrew was going to be killed on a cross, and he specifically asked, he said, I'm not worthy to be crucified on the same cross that Jesus was, so please crucify me on a different cross. So they're like, all right, you get an X cross. So that was the reason that came to be associated with him, and now it's on the Scottish flag. So
very exciting stuff.
Yeah. You might be asking yourself, what do we do to celebrate St. Andrew's Day? Well, there's a lot of festivals and parties and such in Scotland, but the interesting thing is, did you know that St. Andrew's Day is actually not a Scottish celebration? It's not originally from Scotland.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It actually started that, he's been the patron saint for like hundreds of years, since the 1300s, and so the Scots would celebrate him every once in a while, but actually celebrating it on November 30th was was an American thing, because there were some Scottish people who immigrated to the Americas and wanted to still celebrate their Scottish culture, and also being, good Christians, they wanted to take care of the poor and the orphans and such, and so they did that in the name of St. Andrew, and so they set up this day, St. Andrew's Day, to have a feast and to celebrate St. Andrew. So it started there, and then it kind of migrated back to the Scottish country, and then that's how they took it, and they're like, all right, well, he's our patron saint anyway, let's have a party.
Wow. It's exciting stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting stuff.
Yeah.
So that kind of brings us to why we do what we do. We all kind of feel like in pipe bands, are you Scottish? I don't know
what I am.
No,
my family never did that thing.
I'm a little bit Scottish, and I think if you're Scottish, or even if you're associated with Scottish culture, Scottish music, you feel like you need to remember where you came from and your traditions, and who made you who you are, how it made you who you are. And so that's why people in the Americas started celebrating St. Andrew's Day, and that's kind of why we do pipe band, right?
Yeah, the first question anybody asks you when they see you and your kilts at a gig is, are you Scottish?
Yeah, and you're like, I mean, yeah, but...
You don't have to be Scottish to be in a pipe band.
Yeah, you don't have to, we're not going to do a DNA test and be like, well,
you're cut. You're cut, you're Irish.
You can't be around us.
No.
Yeah, so, it's this thing that we do is very interesting, and there's a lot of little historical things that I feel like when you're learning and you just get into the pipe band world, you're not aware of that, and you're not taught that, right?
Yeah.
Because, like, I'm too busy worrying how to do paradiddles and burls. I don't know what this history thing is.
Yeah.
So we're going to mix in some of the history for you guys the next few episodes, and talk about why we do the things that we do and how you can do them too. If you need some advice for taking your band to a Highland Games, is going to be the next episode, and then the episode after that we're going to talk about specifically going to Scotland. That was a big one, right?
That was a lot of logistics.
Yeah, getting 40 people overseas with all of our equipment. That was
keeping them together and coming back.
Yes,
with 40 people.
Don't lose anyone. That was the whole thing. It was a big deal. All right, well, let's wrap it up for today. Thanks for listening once again.
Before we do go, we also have a YouTube channel that we're going to be uploading a bunch of tenor tutorials to, and a lot of informative videos on there as well.
Yeah, so we're hoping to make this a really educational thing, because the pipe band scene in the U.S. is very spread out, and you may or may not have access to a lot of instruction. You may not know any of this historical stuff that, like I said, we're going to talk about, or have access to this instruction. So
we're going to bridge that gap.
Yeah. Let us know what you want to see, and we'll get it for you. We'll do our best to get it for you.
We got you.
I think we got you. No promises. I think so. Cool. All right. Have an excellent day. And this has been Podband Pipecast,
the premier pipe band podcast. Thanks for listening, everyone. If you enjoyed this show, then support us on Patreon for exclusive content, as well as the video of us recording this. We'll have special exercises we'll be writing, as well as tips and tricks with tenor drumming and other instruments to come. Subscribe to us on YouTube for some tenor tutorials and possibly other tutorials later on. And like us on Facebook at Podband Pipecast.